وآل محمد. The second salawat for the honor Mawlana wa Sayyidina Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And inshallah for the well-being and the health and success of all of the mu'mineen in the world, especially our community, recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين روحي وأرواحنا وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في القرآن الكريم يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده أم الكتاب صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. In our current climate, and specifically since the presidency, or after the election and the presidency of this president, we can see the rise on Islamophobia and also bigotry against Muslim and Islamic faith. And because of that, all of us, regardless of our age or gender, we all somehow, in some degree, were exposed to a lot of accusations against Islamic faith, specifically Quran. If you take a look at, I don't encourage you, but probably you heard some of the most famous anti-Islam and propaganda against Muslims. One of the top websites is Jihad Watch, another one is the Religion of Peace, and similar websites, a long list of them. You will see that one of the focuses of these sites is to focus on the different quotation from Quran, different verses of Quran, and supporting their claim that Islam is not a true religion, is not even a religion, is a satanic religion in some cases, with using those quotes of Quran. And for some of us, looking at these verses, of course, have no impact on what we believe and what we learn from this faith. But these kind of accusation has to and must motivate us to know and recognize the importance of Quran and the light of Quran. For the next few nights, I will talk about the life of Fatemiyya Zahra Salamullah alayha and her understanding and description of Quran. When we talk about the life of Fatemiyya Zahra as the master of the Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, as the master of the woman of the worlds, we can truly understand that Quran has a very important role in her life. And the reason she was able to endure all those hardships during her lifetime, short lifetime, but still a lot of hardship and suffering happened during that short period of time after the Prophet's departure, is because of her deep connection to Quran. We can't ignore that unfortunately some of us, an understanding of Quran for some of us, is very shallow, is very limited, and pretty much we use Quran when we want to leave the house, recite Ayatul Kursi when you ride your bicycle or car, recite Inna Ataynaka al-Kawthar is a short surah, recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad 3 times before sleeping is equivalent of finishing the entire Quran. And for some of us, the most important subject for some people, the evil eye and the focus on the قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. For some individual, Quran unfortunately became very limited in effect and importance. The reality is that this book, as the final book of God, is what we consider the greatest miracle of the final prophet of God. The greatest miracle of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad, according to us, is Quran. Why is that? Why Quran is a miracle? I can claim many reasons and many explanations for that, But you are a Muslim and I'm a Muslim. I studied Islam. You, alhamdulillah, are people who spend a lot of time at least listening to different lectures and different speakers talking about different aspects of Islam. And of course, Quran has to be one of the sources of all these speakers used in the materials and what they said. But just thinking about this, of why Quran is a miracle and what's the importance of Quran, especially after all these attacks towards Quran, has to be a priority for us. When we look at the word of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Fatemiyya Zahra, all of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, you can see that Quran is one of the main sources for them to talk about why their leadership for Muslim Ummah is important and crucial, and also to teach us that their leadership is from the position of Quran and is not a contradictory position to Quran. When we see a lot of issues that we have in Muslim Ummah, including Wahhabism and Salafism and Daesh and many similar groups, Quran is one of the greatest means for them to unfortunately convince some ignorance to follow them and to believe in what they say. So we have to understand this book. And we have to also recognize that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam use it in every aspect of their lives. And every gift that we have today, undiscovered or discovered from the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, Quran is an essential part of that. So Nahjul Balagha is a collection of the words of Imam Ali alayhi salam. If somebody is a bit familiar with Quran, you will see in every khutbah, in every tradition, in every lesson, every sermon and letter, you can see Quran in the word of Imam Ali alayhi salam. If you look at Sayf Sajjadiyya, every phrase of dua and munajat of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam has traces of the teaching of Quran. If you look at Khutbah Fadakiyya Fatemiyya Zahra, Fatemiyya Zahra quoted more than 20 ayah, more than 30 ayah in Khutbah Fadakiyya, the sermon regarding Fadak, which was her right. But Fatemiyya Zahra used Quran as a way to convey her message. Sayyid al-Shahada alayhi salam, same story. When he left Medina, he recited Quran. When he entered Mecca, he recited Quran. When he entered Karbala, he recited Quran. When he was on the spears and when he was beheaded, he recited Quran. So Quran is a light, as he itself described. Shifa'un lima fi sudur. It is a healing for those who are seeking to be healed. So I want you to understand, for 3 nights, our topic will be Quran, but Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam will be part of the message of Quran. They're not two different entities, as Rasulullah described so many times. We know this hadith, all of us probably memorized the Arabic or English translation. إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمُ الثَّقَلَيْنِ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ وَعِتْرَتِي. This famous tradition, which many of us memorized, heard it hundreds of times, and for some of us is repetitive. It said, Sheikh, please don't say that. We already know it. The issues we have in our community comes from this. That there are those individuals, unfortunately, they claim that they love Ahlul Bayt, but they exaggerate, they go out of the right direction, Sirat al-Mustaqim, in the name of the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Unfortunately, we still have them today in our communities. We had them in the time of Ahlul Bayt, that Ahlul Bayt condemned their action, criticized them for what they were preaching, but still they continued what they believed, because they were not following the truth, they were following what they considered to be the truth. That's very substantial differences between what is haqq and what we consider to be haqq. Because sometimes the truth cannot be subjective, it is objective. But unfortunately, some individuals, when you even use Quran, you use reason, you use any sources in our disposal to talk to them and try to teach them understand and help them understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made sure that we receive the truth. The truth is not concealed forever. But what you have to do, you have to put yourself aside, your ego aside. And we have the others, unfortunately, we have that form of misguidance, that they go to Quran and they said, Quran is the source of my life. Quran is everything that I go back to. And unfortunately, I've been interrupted in my lectures when we mention a hadith or tradition or a fatwa of a well-known marja, that where in Quran Allah said it. Which ayah of Quran Allah said it. And this repetitive answer that I said, my dear brother or sister, you asking this question tells me that you didn't understand the sources of religion is not only Quran. Quran is one of the main sources, but it's not the only one. And to understand that basic understanding of it, regardless if you're Shia or Sunni, you will understand that Quran self alone is not self-sufficient. It's a very important source. It is a very important source. It is crucial. But it's not the only thing that you can say, okay, this fatwa, this ruling, this ayah is the reason why we believe in this. But in the future, people will ask the same question again, and it is part of the circle that people will have, and they have the right to ask questions. I don't want you to take what I'm saying in a wrong way, that we are criticizing people who ask questions. No, we have to ask questions. But sometimes a good question we have, that husnul su'al nisful jawab, and a good question is half of the answer. And unfortunately, sometimes our Q&As unfortunately, they become very repetitive, and they're circular in a form that we ask the same question, we get the same answers, and we don't move on. That sometimes we have to understand that one of the issues we have is that this Quran and Itrat, this holy book and family of the Prophet, progeny, Ahlul Bayt, they have to be understood properly in order for us to understand our religion properly. So for 3 nights, I will do my best to shed some light on that and to elaborate a bit on this topic. How to put Quran and Ahlul Bayt in perspective. And if I want to call it, let's make it very basic. Quran and Ahlul Bayt 101. Very simple. Because we know a lot of scattered information we have in mind. Different speakers, alhamdulillah, may Allah bless them. Each of them, including me, come and talk from one perspective. But having all these information without understanding that what is the main category, what is the main subject, what all details fall under which umbrella, it will be very confusing. A few weeks ago, I had this issue with a young man who, according to him, he was studying about Quran for the last few months. And he said that he's very confused when you listen to different speakers, when you listen to different khutbah, and also when he reads different tafasir, he get confused. That this mufassir said this, another mufassir said that. Sometimes, according to him, they were contradictory to one another. And this confusion kind of discouraged him from going deeper than the surface of Quran. Why this happens, according to my understanding of this case, this confusion happens when we don't understand the different styles of tafsir, different method of commentary or interpretation of Quran. They're very basic, and this will be most of the part of my lecture tonight. Just understanding the different type of tafsir, that when you read that style, that method, you don't get confused with another method. All of them are right. None of them are against one another, but they are different methods. Each of them focus on a specific aspect of Quran. And we have many traditions who teach us that Quran is much deeper than the surface that you can see. And we need someone such as the Imam of our time, the rest of the Ahlul Bayt, the Holy Prophet, to make us and help us and assist us to understand this. As we read in Surah Jum'ah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we send a prophet to help you purify yourself and help you to learn Quran. وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ الْكِتَابِ. He's here to teach you about Quran. And without that teacher, you will not be able to get deeper than the surface. So, first of all, going back to what I started with, I'm not saying understand Quran to answer those who oppose us. I'm not saying to learn about the importance of the message of Quran and Ahlul Bayt in order to be able to convert people to Islam. That's not the goal. For many individuals, regardless of how sane, how well put your words and reasoning is, they chose their side. Never have this expectation that what I say miraculously will transform people's lives. Just keep that in mind. If you don't have that expectation, you will not have that much disappointment. If your expectation is, I will research, I will memorize all these quotes, all this reason, and when somebody who is a very well-known Islamophobe or very disrespectful toward my faith and belief, could be a coworker, could be someone, could be anyone. I put it on the Facebook, I put it on the social media, I talk face to face, and they will stop doing what they're doing. I promise you it will not be the case for everyone. Because ultimately we decide to listen or to ignore. Understanding doesn't mean doing. If that was the case, we wouldn't have gossip in our communities. If learning and knowing was enough, we wouldn't have many issues we have in our families today. Between husband and wife, all these unfortunate issues that they come after a few months, few years, sometimes after decades of getting married. And if knowing was sufficient, alhamdulillah, we know about how to be a good husband or a good wife. We know that doing certain actions are against our faith and our belief, but doing is a different path. Ilm, knowledge, understanding is much different from amal and action. And that connection to happen is a line between hypocrisy and iman and faith. It's a very thin line, but it's not that easy to pass it. So speaking of the types of interpretation of Quran, there are 5 major types. These are the styles of Ahlul Bayt. I'm not talking about the contemporary type of tafasir, the interpretation of dreams and stuff like that. I'm not going to that field. What we have, how to look at Quran, how to understand Quran, there are 5 major methods that are approved by the teaching of the family of the Prophet Ahlul Bayt alayhi wasallam. And infallible and ma'asum made sure that this method is a proper method, and they used it themselves. 5 methods. The first one is to understand Quran by the use of Quran. Understand Quran through Quran. There are more than 6,000 verses in Quran, and some of the ayahs are briefly addressing an issue. If somebody doesn't have a proper understanding of the entire Quran, they will be confused. They will not be able to understand one certain ayah with understanding another ayah, another chapter of Quran. For example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about prayers, there is an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about daily prayers, but not all 5 daily prayers. Allah addresses some of the daily prayers. In another part of Quran, Allah addresses another daily prayer. So if somebody doesn't have that understanding, that in this chapter, Allah only talked about, out of 5 daily prayers, Allah talked about 2 of them, talked about 3 of them, you will misunderstand that, okay, so why we have 5 daily prayers? You need another ayah of Quran to make sure and understand with the teaching of the Prophet that this ayah has a completion in another chapter of Quran. Or sometimes reading one part of the ayah, this famous ayah that you probably heard, right? That all the Islamophobes memorize it. At least they say those who call themselves critique of Islamic faith. They have different beautiful titles for themselves. فَاقْتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ ثَقِفْتُمُوهُمْ. Kill them where you find them. Kill them where you find them is a famous ayah. Everybody probably know that. But if you read the ayah before and after, you understand the context of it. This is tafsir of Quran bil Quran. All you need is to have the entire ayah or another ayah in another chapter to understand the context of that ayah. It's like a story that you can't just take a quote from that story and claim that you know everything about that story. We have somebody came to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and asked him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, what is the meaning of Allahu Samad? Samad, what is the meaning of Samad? And Imam alayhi salam said, read the ayah after, you will understand. Lam yalid wa lam. Alhamdulillah, you memorize Surah Tawheed. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. That Allah is self-sufficient. That's what the meaning of Samad is. That the next ayah elaborate. That Samad is that He doesn't need a beginning, neither He doesn't need someone to continue His legacy or His message. He doesn't have any child, He was not born. So that Samad is that idea of needlessness. Samad means self-sufficient. But you have to look at the ayah. This tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran. You have that ayah, you have a misunderstanding of that ayah, you take another ayah, you understand another ayah, and it opens up and you'll be able to understand it. There are tafsir collected by our scholars and ulama who only focus on this type of tafsir. If you see one ayah, and that ayah has a question in mind, first thing you have to ask yourself, do I know all the ayah related to this topic? And it's very simple, alhamdulillah, with the technology and the access to technology to find that. So that's one method. Quran bil Quran. The second method is to interpret Quran with the use of tradition of the Prophet. Sunnah of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I apologize, it's a bit maybe seems very dry, but it's very important to keep it in mind. It will resolve a lot of confusion we have. Because alhamdulillah, we're living at a time that there's a lot of tafsir class out there, and I respect all of them. I never claim that I've been in all of them and I know which one is right or wrong. But what I can tell you that some of them at least have problematic methods in order to understand Quran. The title is a beautiful title, like a lot of other possibilities that people claim, come to our school and we teach you how to do business, right? And then they end up scheming and cheating on whatever they do. The title could be very beautiful, Tafsir of Quran. Understanding Quran in a modern contemporary time. And looking at the Quran from the perspective of Urafa. And there are all these different methods. All respect to all of the teachers out there. It is important for us to know the method that they are approved by Ahlul. It will help us to avoid a lot of misinformation and a lot of, unfortunately, deviance that is out there in the name of Tafsir of Quran. So that's one, Quran by Quran. The second one is the use of the Sunnah and the tradition of the Prophet, words of the Prophet to understand Quran. Ahlul Bayt even used that. For example, when somebody came and asked Imam Ali alayhi salam regarding ayah, Imam Ali alayhi salam said, I heard Rasulullah said this. When they asked Imam Bakr alayhi salam about a specific ayah, I give an example, there are many of them. And Imam Bakr alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, I heard Rasulullah, I heard from my father, from his father, from my grandfather, that Rasulullah said this. And that is another way of interpreting different messages and different verses of Quran. There are muhkamat and mutashabihat. Muhkamat are those straightforward verses of Quran that they don't need a lot of deep understanding. It's very straightforward. But there are some verses that they are mutashabihat. If you don't understand them properly, if you don't translate them properly, if you don't interpret them properly, there's a possibility of you misunderstanding the message of Quran. So we have muhkamat and mutashabihat. In muhkamat is very obvious. Read the translation, go and further, do it. Birrul walidain, honor your parents, right? For example, the ayah regarding sadaqah and helping those in needs. These are straightforward. But when it comes to mutashabihat, the famous one that we know is Yadullah fawqa aydihim. Right? The hand of God is over any other hand. Talking about what is the meaning of this hand, which is being a dispute among scholars. I talk about the Muslim scholars. It's one agreed upon opinion among the school of Ahlul Bayt, but among Muslims there are different opinions. Then what does this hand of God represent? Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Somebody help this brother of us. No, he changed his mind. So, for Yadullah fawqa aydihim, we need an advisor. And that advisor is an infallible. I can't personally interpret that. I need an advisor to help us through that. So tafsir of Quran by the use of a teacher such as Prophet is also very common. The ayah I recited at the beginning of my speech is from Surah Ra'd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. We heard about this, that our destiny, our future is written somewhere. In Lawh Mahfuz, in a protected divine message, a divine script. What is the meaning of that? يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. There are people, when they read this ayah, they said, oh, so you believe in predestination, predetermination. Whatever we do is already being decided. We have no say in this. And this ayah is one of those ayah that Allah said, يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ. Allah will eliminate what He wants, what He wills. وَيُثْبِتُ. And He will leave and He will record what He wills. وَعِنْدَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ. And before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the mother of the book. So it's one of those topics. And Imam Ali alayhi salam said, I came to Rasulullah and asked Rasulullah about this ayah. Ya Rasulullah, what is the meaning of this ayah? يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowledgeable about our future or not? If He knows, Allah never changes His mind, because changing mind and changing your opinion is due to ignorance. I didn't know this, I didn't know that. So that's the reason I changed my mind. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have to eliminate something? Why He has to change what is being written? And then Rasulullah answered to Imam Ali alayhi salam, Ya Ali, Allah indeed will change what we consider the written script based on the actions of the man. That He's not unaware of the man or the destiny of the man, but He determined a law for it. That if you go to the path A, you will get this. If you go to the path B, you will get this. And because of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give this chance to every shaqi, to every misguided, to change their path even toward the end of their lives. And there is a possibility for every sa'id, for every guided, for every, what we consider the one with prosperity, the prosperous person, to lose it if they don't maintain that direction all the way. So Allah will eliminate and Allah will record what He wills based on the actions of the man. It's a bit complicated. I'm going to give you one example and finish. It's story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Ibrahim alayhi salam to sacrifice his son, was that Allah's will? If that was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan all over for Ibrahim alayhi salam to kill his own son. And then last minute when Ibrahim alayhi salam actually started, God forbid, we don't believe in that God changed his mind. The reality is that we don't believe in that. We believe that Allah, from the first moment when He made that command, the plan was for that sheep or whatever animal to replace, and that should be the way of sacrifice all the way to our time. But that was His method. That was the test. When Musa alayhi salam was told that you're going to come for 30 nights, and then Allah said, وَأَتْمَمْنَاهُ بِعَشْرٍ. We added 10 nights to that 30 nights. God forbid, Allah didn't know that it's going to be 40 nights. Of course He knew. But the plan was to test that how much the faith of Bani Israel is being based on not just the leader present there, but they are believers and they're faithful to Allah regardless, even if the Prophet is not there. It's a test. And the last example, the story of Qibla, when it was changed from Bayt al-Muqaddas to Mecca. And Allah says, سَيَقُولُ السُّفَهَاءُ مَا وَلَّاهُمْ عَنْ قِبْلَتِهِمُ الَّتِي كَانُوا عَلَيْهَا. Allah says some ignorance, fools, they are making fun of this path, this decision. That why God changed the direction from Baytul Muqaddas to Kaaba. Why this happened? And Allah said, do you think that we didn't want Kaaba to be the Qibla forever? And Allah said this was a test for understanding who truly follows the path and the word of God, the command of God, and who are following the command of their own will. That their favoritism is the reason they are believing this certain order. So for us, Allah's knowledge never goes through change, because change happens when ignorance will prevail. But it's coming back to our simply understanding this concept, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes certain rules and commands for a certain reason. Until this person is qualified to pass to another stage or not. يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. The ignorance comes from our side, not from Allah's side. And we don't know what was the intention of God making the order to pray toward Baytul Muqaddas first. We're ignorant that why God first said to go and sacrifice your son, Ya Ibrahim. But for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it was clear from the beginning. But He will change our future based on our own action. If we decide to change, He will change it for us because He gave us that option. He gave us that option. يَمْحُ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيُثْبِتُ. So Prophet said to Imam alayhi salam, Ya Ali, Allah will change. So nothing is 100%. That's the reason we have in the night of Qadr, the night of destiny, and the night of measurement, that everything is being measured. Pray to Allah, repent, that your taqdeer will be changed. That through your action, you will be able to impact your future. That's the Prophet word. To understand this ayah. That we don't believe in predestination in a form that our action has no effect. It does have effect. It does have an impact. Then Rasulullah continued and said, Ya Ali, the best way to change, the best way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will transform misery to prosperity, shiqawa to sa'adah. There are three actions that they are the main keys. Every action has an impact. But the strongest form of impact comes from three actions. If you want your taqdeer, if you want what is we consider the amal that is being written to being affected, including how long we're going to live, including our rizq and sustenance. They're not something in our control. But what are the most effective action that impacts them? Rasulullah said there are three. Number one, Rasulullah said, As-sadaqa ya Ali. Charity. Charity is one of the best way to change what is expecting us. There are reasons for it. So that's the first one. Number two, birrul walidain. Rasulullah said, honoring your parents. Not just being nice to them, honoring them. Honoring them means make a big deal about everything they do. Birrul walidain, unfortunately, is being casually translated. Be nice, Don't scream at your parents. Don't, God forbid, put them in a nursing home. No, it's not. Birrul walidain, birr is going more than what is we consider the minimum. Go further than that. For example, we have what birrul walidain is that when they come inside the room, you stand up. You make a big deal that somebody important came. When they're leaving, you do the same thing. You go follow them. Make sure that you're a companion for them, even when they're leaving. Birrul walidain means that when they say something, even if it's not right, if it's not true, you don't show them your anger. You don't show them your true face. Smile. That's what birrul walidain is. It's not easy. Going further than what is the minimum, what is usual. That's the second action. That Rasulullah said, well, yamhullah ma yasha wa yuthbit. If you want that what we consider to be changed, The second one is birrul walidain. The last one Rasulullah said was tina'ul ma'aruf. Building something good, doing something good, especially for others. When you remove something from someone's shoulder, make their burden lighter, helping them. In other words, selfless acts. It will change the impacts of what we are expecting in the future. Every action. We have that about Hurr ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. That Hurr was a shaqi at the time when he stopped Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He was truly miserable. He was truly misguided when he blocked the path of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But he changed. And we have that Imam alayhi salam, we have our ulama even said, that one of the reasons Hurr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala transformed his shiqawa to sa'ada, beside his decision and action, was that he had the potential, and that potential came from his manners. That his adab and manners, that when Imam alayhi salam, we have that when you stop Imam alayhi salam, Imam told him with anger that, do you know who are you stopping? And Imam alayhi salam said, ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ. May your mother see your death. This is kind of a curse. And he responded that, I know who is your mother. I know Fatemiyya salam alayha. And if you call me more than that, I will never let myself to say anything about your mother. He was the enemy. He was the commander of the enemy, but he didn't disrespect Imam alayhi salam or the Fatemiyya salam alayha. And we have the ulama said because of that adab and manners was one of the potentials for him to change. And he was able to win the internal battle that he had with himself. Because he was confused. Should I go or should I stay? So that's the second style of it. Interpretation of Quran with the use of the tradition of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The third one is very basic, is based on lughat. They call it based on the terminology. What is the root of this word? Where it comes from? What it means? That's another method of interpretation of Quran. Many of our mufassirin used it. That you know the root of, for example, falah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. They said the root of the falah come from when the seed split the earth and comes to the surface, when it starts growing. That's what falah is. They call a farmer falah because it provides the atmosphere for that seed to grow. And that's a success. When seed is able to grow and come to the surface and start growing, that's a success of the seed to reach its potential. That's what قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. In English translation, they said, indeed, believers are successful. So the root of it, and they do tafsir of the lughat, the terminology. That's another method, very common. The fourth one is a tafsir of Quran through the occasion of revelation. Why this ayah was revealed. Where it was revealed. What was the timeline? What was the importance of it? Like, for example, the famous ayah of Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is about Eid al-Ghadir. If you don't know the occasion of revelation, if you just read the translation, some people say, you know, Allah is talking about halal and haram, talking about mayta, is about talking about najis and, pure. So, and then Allah said, Al-Yawm akmaltu lakum dinukum. Today we complete your religion. Without the occasion of revelation, you will not be able to understand the significance of it. The fourth method of tafsir is to tell you why this ayah was revealed. That has its own weight. And that's one of the major ways that the haqqaniyya, the truth of Ahlul Bayt, will be promoted and will be revealed. If we know the occasion of revelation. For example, إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ. The word kawthar, if you go to the literal, they call the lexical analysis, the terminology of the word kawthar, it means the abundance of good. That's the root of it. But if you go to occasion of revelation, there's a different story. That Imam Fakhr Razi and Ahlul Sunnah Mufassir said that Kawthar, the abundance khair, could have a lot of subjects, a lot of examples, from the knowledge of the Prophet to Quran to many other examples. But none of them could be as close to the last ayah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that your enemies call you Abtar, the one with no posterity, the one with no offspring. Indeed, your enemies, indeed those who are opposing you are Abtar, they have no posterity. And they said the closest one for that example of Kawthar is Fatemiyya Zahra Salamullah alayha. That Imam Fakhr Razi said that today we know that the name of Rasulullah through Fatemiyya Zahra and her family is not only outgrown more than what the time of the Prophet was, but it still keep growing, the fastest growing one. So that's another method, occasion of revelation. And the last one is ta'wil. And I want to talk about that 5 minutes. I finish in 5 minutes, inshallah. Ta'wil is, they said the closest translation, esoteric interpretation. What it is that you go deeper than the surface of the ayah and you give a message beyond the translation of the ayah. That's what we call ta'wil. And except the Imam alayhi salam, an infallible, no one has a right to it. Because nobody has an access to ta'wil beside the Imam alayhi salam. And there are unfortunately some ta'wilat by regular human beings. And that's a dangerous field that some people unfortunately entered. And we have tradition by the Prophet, whoever interprets Quran based on their own personal interpretation, which mostly is ta'wil. Because if you follow the other method, you're safe. But if you use this one, which the surface of the ayah said this message, the ta'wil of the ayah says another message. They're not opposing each other, but they're very different. And that is only permissible for the Imam alayhi salam. There are a lot of people who started, they tried before, and the only outcome of that is more misguidance, unfortunately. As Prophet said, that whoever tried to interpret Quran based on their own personal opinion, they definitely will misguide themselves and others, and they will be punished for that. Example of that is Surah Mulk, verse 30. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Mulk talks about water. Allah said, if today we sunken all the water on the earth, all the water on earth disappear, who will provide water for you? That's the surface of it. It is understandable. It has its own message. Take the importance of water, conserve water, don't waste water. It is important. Don't take it for granted. That's what the surface of the ayah is about. But Imam Baqir alayhi salam goes deeper than that. Imam Baqir alayhi salam, under this ayah, he said that the water is a symbol of the Imam. That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take the Imam away from you, who will be able to replace the Imam for you? The Hujjah, the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To know the value of the Imam. So this is ta'wil, one example of ta'wil. Understanding that this knowledge is only limited to the ma'asumeen is very, very crucial. Because if we don't understand this, then anyone can tell us whatever they want in the name of ta'wil. And that's a very dangerous territory that unfortunately a lot of people misguided and minority in that path. The style of Fatemiyya Zahra, inshallah, we'll talk tomorrow night, that how she used one of these methods to talk about her right, her position, and talks about what is important and crucial for the Muslim Ummah. If we are confused about what we know from Quran, before pointing fingers at Quran, God forbid, before blaming the one who sent Quran, we have to ask ourselves, do I educated myself properly in order to understand Quran? That God forbid we don't end up like those people who said, I read Quran. And I said, do you know Arabic? And said, no, but I read the translation. And you ask him, which translation you read? That understanding of Quran could be limited, and it's fine. Not everybody has time and has the resources to go and understand Quran, learn Arabic, go deeper. It's perfectly acceptable, it's perfectly fine. But if you're in that position, God forbid, don't claim that I can educate others, that I can answer questions of others. And I finish with this. The golden answer that is one of the most unfortunate, ignored answers of our time is what? La adri. I don't know. I will. This is one of my repetitive phrases that I say in every center that I go. If you don't know something, please learn from the teaching of Ahlul Bayt. Learn from the teaching of our scholars and ulama. To say, I don't know. And it is better to say, I don't know. That's the best of answers than giving the wrong answer that will impact people's actions, faith, belief. And each of them were responsible. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the honor of Fatemiyya Zahra salamullah alayha, help us to understand the message of Quran through the light of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, the Holy Prophet, inshaAllah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq, give us the motivation, the ability, the decision, the determination to follow and practice the teaching of our faith and believe, especially the message of the Holy Quran, inshaAllah. Tonight is a Thursday night, is recommended of the night for the ziyarah of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam. And as I said, Imam Hussain alayhi salam was well known among the people for his love and his passion for the Holy Quran. Every part of his final journey, which was the journey toward Kufa and eventually Karbala, is accompanied by Quran. And even when the night of Ashura came, we have that Imam Hussain alayhi salam asked Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salam for some time. Imam alayhi salam said, go talk to the Umar ibn Sa'd and the army of Umar ibn Sa'd to give us some time, give us tonight. The battle is supposed to happen at the eve, or at least at the day of Tasu'ah, but Imam alayhi salam asked for some time, especially the night of Ashura, is the eve of the 9th. And Imam told Abul Fadl Abbas alayhi salam that I want this night, this final time of my life to be spent with salat, prayers, Quran, and dua. I want to visit my Lord before I want to use these. I love them. Our appetite, I'm telling, this is not addressing to anyone, this is to myself, that we went through changes because of many reasons, that sometimes we are not as passionate as we have to be about certain things. How we know our faith is strong? When we have passion for good. That's one of the signs of faith. If God forbid I lose motivation to do good in any form, including prayers, including charity, including volunteer work, any form of good. We like some type of good, that's favoritism. As long as our passion is good for any form of good. Listen to Dua Kumail, I'm able to listen to Dua Kumail and enjoy it. And I'm also able to enjoy a volunteer work to homeless feeding today. But if I like Dua Kumail, which is a sitting, inactive activity, but I don't like to go out there and walk outside, that's favoritism. That's not a proper way to evaluate my faith. An opposite, vice versa. And he asked for that time. And you spend the night of Ashura and with the Quran recitation and dua and salat. And we have in narrations that the enemies reported that that night Imam Hussain alayhi salam and his companions spent the night when we were able to hear this recitation of Quran from their camp. We were able to hear the voice of munajat and prayers and supplication from their camp. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the last moment of our lives to be in that state of obedience, any form of it, inshallah. Let's say salam to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and keep in mind all those who requested dua and prayers, especially those who are suffering from different illnesses. I know about a young man, a teenager who's suffering from cancer, and there is a family who asked for the dua. But probably each one of you know their name. There is no need for me to mention their name, as long as you are keeping keep them in your mind that you're praying for them. That will be sufficient. So remember all of them, and let's say a salam to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. When they brought Zainab al-Kubra and the family of Imam Hussain alayhi salam to the city of Damascus, we have that the daughter of Fatemiyya Zahra, Zainab al-Kubra, started to talk to the people of Sham and Damascus. Zayd ibn Arqam is the narrator that he said, I was sitting in a room when I heard the voice of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam when his head was on a spear. I heard that this ayah was recited by him. أم حسبتم أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا. Would you assume that the companion of the cave, that you wonder that they are one of our signs, that the way we take them through life and death? And as the head of Imam Hussain alayhi salam was reciting the ayah, Zainab al-Kubra salamullah alayha stayed quiet. She stopped her speech to listen to the ayah of Quran being recited by the head of Hussain alayhi salam. And when Imam Hussain alayhi salam finished, Zainab salamullah alayha addressed the head of Hussain alayhi salam and said, Ya akhi, Ya Fatima as-Saghir, kallimka. Look at your young daughters, your orphans, that they want to talk to you. That you recited the ayah of Quran and your children listen to you, but this is a moment that your children, they are complaining about not seeing you and not talking to you. Ya akhi, my brother Hussein, talk to your orphan, that maybe you talking to them give them some comfort. Ya Abu Abdullah, la yawm ka yawmika ya Abu Abdullah. When the last moments of the life of Sayyid al-Shuhada alayhi salam, when he was on the ground, he raised his head and he saw that the enemies are attacking toward the camp of Hussein alayhi salam. He wasn't able to stand up. He used his sword to lean on the sword and stood and sat down for a few seconds, and he screamed at the enemies. And Umar ibn Sa'd said, Ya Umar ibn Sa'd, Ya Ahl al-Kufa, O people of Kufa, if you have no faith, if you have no religion, at least be free men. That until the Hussein alayhi salam is alive, how you dare to go toward the family of Hussein? لا يوم كيومك يا أبا عبد الله وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم إنا نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها، استجب دعواتنا يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا Allah. We have the dua, the ayah that we have to pray together. So all of us, when I say Ya Allah, we say it together. Ya Allah, 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 Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Muqallib al-Qulub, ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور، اللهم أغني كل فقير، اللهم أشبع كل جائع، اللهم اكسو كل عريان، اللهم اقض دين كل مدين، اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم اصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك، اللهم اقض عنا الدين واغننا من الفقر، إنك على كل شيء قدير. For the return and the haste and the return of the Imam of our time, and inshallah a resolution for all of the problems and issues in the Muslim Ummah, and for the soul of all marhumin, especially those who helped these majalis to be able to continue and to be able to help these majalis, for the soul of those marhumin. رحم الله لمن قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.